Good morning on a Thursday morning, May 26th, Throwback Thursday. I lift this cup of coffee to you. Slurp, slurp. Welcome in. Astros win 2-1 last night. That's a beautiful thing. Couple in a row now for the Astros, I believe. Two to one over Cleveland. Let me double check something. If my computer lets me. Yeah, that's 2 in a row for the Astros. Woo! See who's in here early. John Williams gets in first. Good morning, John Williams. Tracy Bogert, the chairman of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans. Welcome in. Luisa Alanis, good morning. Ralph Balderas, good morning. And Amber, a.k.a. Foamfoot 420, welcome in. Woo! I came in early this morning. I had to record some commercials so that I wouldn't have to record them all during the show. So I'm a little extra tired. Had less sleep last night. Anthony Del Toro, what is up? Aranza's Pass, you lucky dog. I love Aranza's Pass and Port Aransas. Wish I were there. Ooh, look at that. Amber's going to see Top Gun Maverick tonight. Man, I don't know if it's all the hype, and I don't know, if it's the movie itself generating this, saying, I saw some ad for the movie that said, whatever your expectations are, they should be higher. So hopefully I'll be interested. Amber, let us know tomorrow if it lived up to your expectations. Anthony Del Toro, good morning. Yeah, we're working in Aranza's Pass. So, well, hey, man, when you get off work, go hit the beach. That's what I would do if I could. All right. Woo! See if my headphones work. Jesse Bratton is in here. Yep, prayers for Uvalde. Absolutely, Jesse. I'm with you on prayers for Uvalde. I'm not with you on Go Yankees, but I get it. It's your team, man. You know what my team is. We'll see you Yankees in the postseason. Hector Gomez, the pride of Central Catholic High School. Welcome in. Your glass slipper review tomorrow. Beautiful. We look forward to that. I will pass that along on the radio tomorrow. All right. What else? Boston wins. They take a 3-2 lead in that series. It goes back to Boston. Miami goes 7 for 45 from three-point country last night. That won't get it done. Dallas in San Francisco tonight. Golden State can punch their ticket to the NBA Finals. Colin Kaepernick reportedly worked out with the Raiders. I finally saw the HBO Real Sports segment on the accusers of Deshaun Watson. It looks damning, but as they pointed out, and what's helping Deshaun Watson, not these two accusers that they interviewed, but there were some accusers who, consented to sexual activities with at least 3 of them with Deshaun Watson, and some of them, wanted to date him after these encounters. So it's so weird, but it wasn't a pretty thing for Deshaun Watson. All right, here we go. Let's do a little radio show on a Thursday. Why the hell not? Got to mute a little bit for our evil Facebook overlords.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a Thursday. That means a throwback Thursday. I am wearing my throwback Houston Astros t-shirt, not only in honor of Throwback Thursday, but in honor of the Houston Astros winning their 2nd in a row over the Cleveland Guardians. That's still taking some getting used to. Astros pitched very well last night. They hold the Guardians to 4 hits. Astros beat the Cleveland Guardians 2-1. Way to go, Astros. We'll talk Astros. We'll talk NBA playoffs, as we should. Boston Celtics get the road win at Miami last night, 93-80. Miami goes 7 for 45 from 3-point country. That ain't good. They needed to hit some more 3-point shots. Tonight, the Golden State Warriors will try to close out Shannon Salty Sweeney's beloved Dallas Mavericks. However, if they do, she'll be right again. She picked Golden State in 5. She picked Boston in 6. So she could nail both of those, and she nailed each of the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown, including the 80-1 long shot in the Kentucky Derby. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney and the hardest working man in radio, Jeremy Kolok, our chief meteorologist and resident brainiac by virtue of his 4.0 grade point average, his final semester at Oklahoma State University. Shannon Salty Sweeney, how are you on this Throwback Thursday?
I'm doing well. I got a big day here in Houston, going to the Natural Sciences Museum. And
Still can't hear you. Oh, now we're having fun. Woo! All right, Jeremy Kolok, what is going on, man? Who is jamming Shannon's feed?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. So
you hear me. I hear you.
Definitely.
Now,
we're 2/3 of the way.
We sure are. We'll get there. If you're on the live video feed on Facebook Live, on Twitter, and on YouTube, you can see Shannon, and you can see that Shannon is, her lips are moving, but we got a little bit of an audio problem, which we've had technical issues before. We will fix them. And I know Jeremy Kolok, if you see him on the live video feed, he's texting with Shannon, trying to figure out what the heck's going on, and we will figure it out. No, now Ralph Balderas says we hear all of you.
Oh, I think I got it.
There you are. Woo! All right, Shannon, you're much more technical than I am. What was the technical issue with that? What the heck was going on?
My audio is being streamed on our alternate feed
Yes.
that no one can see, and so that's why.
So you were muted on that, maybe?
Me, but everyone else, yeah, we just hadn't put me up on that feed yet. So we're back in action. I have a big day in Houston. I'm going to the Natural Sciences Museum. I'm very excited about that. I can't remember the last time I went to a museum. And then you mentioned all of the prophecies that I've has come true for me lately. I am going turtle race or not. I'm not racing the turtles, but I'm going to turtle racing tonight. Again, I don't know how it works. I don't know if there's money to be put down, but I'm hoping that I can carry this with me through this evening for what I'm sure will be an electrifying night.
Electrifying. First of all, I love that you're going to a natural history museum. I love museums. I love science. I love history. I love they're fascinating.
I think that's what we're going to.
It's very, very cool. But we need, and maybe it's one of the things our listeners and viewers can help us out. If you nail these picks, like tonight, if the Mavericks lose, and they should, I hope they don't. I'm sick of this Golden State Warriors thing. You would have nailed that pick if Golden State closes out Dallas tonight. Then tomorrow night, if Boston wins in 6, you nail that pick. We need a name. Nostradamus was Nostradamus's name. We need, Nostra Salty. I don't know. We need a prophecy name for you. You're going to have to start, going with this. You're going to have to start owning the fact that you somehow see the future in ways that the rest of us do not.
Salty soothsayer.
Say that again.
The salty soothsayer.
The salty, boom! That'll be tough to beat. I like soothsayer a lot. I like the 2 S's, the salty soothsayer. I'm thinking that's a thing, Shannon. You might, in addition to everything else, you might need a salty soothsayer website and salty soothsayer sports segments where you give out sports prophecy. See that I always thought you hear some of those guys on sports talk stations. It's like, I've got the winner in tonight's Pittsburgh Steelers Baltimore Ravens games. It's a lock. Call me 800. They're out of Las Vegas, and people subscribed. I always thought if I wanted to sell out and be a total fraud, because I obviously don't know anything about handicapping, but if I wanted to. Yeah, I could be one of those. I'd hire somebody else who has an actual service, and I'd rip off their picks, and then I'd go on the radio going, "Hey, I'm Chris Duel. I got the lock. Cowboys, Buccaneers. I know the winner. Call the 800 number now. I give it to you for free. If you want the rest of my salty soothsayer picks, you'll have to subscribe to the website, and you can have them all, and you can make money." I'm amazed. There's so many of those guys, and over the years, Shannon. We've even had some on other radio stations where they would they'd pay money to come on the show once a week, right? But like the Friday before football, NFL football season or football weekend in college. So we just call picks and I got the rest of them for your listeners. Call 800. You win today. So anyway, but I decided against it. If I were if I wanted to rip people off, I always thought I could sell out and do that and fake it. Or I always thought, and I can't do it, I don't have the heart. I thought I see so many televangelists, asking people for money. There was this guy, what was it, Robert Tilton out of Dallas, the guy who would speak in tongues on television and ask people. And I thought, man, this dude is raking in the cash and he's preying upon gullible people.
Yeah.
And I thought, I could do that. I could do that and rake it in, but then I thought, then I have no soul. Then I'm just a POS, and I think I couldn't bring myself to do that.
The business model for that it can only go so far. Like my run will come to an end at some point.
Oh, see, but
and then what do you do?
Or will it? Or will it? So anyway, very, very impressive. Very impressive. Let's check in with Jeremy Kolok, who got an adrenaline rush there for a moment as the guy who makes the entire broadcast go out on the airwaves when we couldn't hear Shannon for a second. Jeremy, how are you this morning? The hardest working man in radio. And you're a maniac. You tend to watch most or all of these NBA playoff games. Did you stay up for all of the Boston Celtics 93-80 win over the Miami Heat last night?
Yeah, I was struggling a little bit, Chris. I was getting sleepy, but we actually had a close game, right? Like for once.
For a while.
Yeah. And then, at halftime we did. It was like the first conference finals game that was within single digits so far at halftime. So I was like, yeah, I need to stay up and watch this. It felt like a 90s style game with the defense that I feel like we saw, and it felt like it was difficult for both teams to score. I don't think we had any player score 30 points or even over 25. Maybe Tatum got 24, 25. But it felt like I was watching a game in like 1997. Not that I was alive, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
Very cool. And, one of the glaring statistics for me, two of them, it was close at halftime. But then Boston pretty much, they doubled up Miami. Am I doing my math right? I think I am. 32-16 in the third quarter, which was they just ran away with it in the third quarter, and then just held on in that fourth quarter was fairly evenly scoring. Boston outscored Miami 24-22 in the fourth quarter, so it was the third quarter that was the difference maker in this game. But the statistic for Miami, 7 for 45 from 3-point country. That is 15.6%. on some nights you'll shoot your 3-ball as well as your overall field goal percentage. So, but interestingly, Boston took less 3-point shots. They were 10 of 33. That's 30%. So Boston only hits 3 more 3-point shots than Miami did, and wins the game by 13. So, I mean, you think about it, you hit the 3 more 3-point shots, that's 9, would have been a 4-point game maybe down the stretch. But I'm getting the feeling, Jeremy, and, Boston, they control their destiny now. They go to their house at TD Garden. They're kind of playing with house money. You don't want to go to a Game 7 back at Miami, but I think most people agree at this point. It looks like Boston looks like they have the upper hand and will win this series. Do you see the Celtics moving on to the finals tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think both of y'all picked the Celtics, right? Because that was the first thing I thought about.
Yes.
And they stole home court advantage here. So I do think they're in the driver's seat to probably win this series. Don't count out Miami yet; they're not done yet.
No.
But I think the Celtics are the safer pick here.
Yeah, and Shannon, and as we mentioned, you had Celtics in 6. So did I, but I had Mavericks in 6 in that other series, so not so good on that one. But yeah, Miami, I talk about them a lot just because of the consistency year in, year out. And no bona fide superstar unless you consider maybe Jimmy Butler a bona fide superstar, which I don't. A lot of very good, very much above average players who play well as a team. And again, Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley, that influence for all of those years. Miami is just kind of a model of consistency. So I wouldn't count them out at Boston in Game 6, Shannon. But if I had to bet, I'd bet Celtics. Plus, you picked them Celtics in 6, and you're on fire these days. So I got a feeling that'll happen tomorrow night.
Yeah, I still like my pick there for that one. And the Heat, as far as, their last couple 10, 15 years, you're right. I mean, you think of Dwayne Wade still in that Heat uniform, and he's obviously been absent now for a couple of years. So the fact that, they did all they did when they had him and Shaq, and then him and LeBron and Chris Bosh, and he continued on that team and was kind of the glue that held it together. I think, you wondered what that was going to look like when he finally did disappear. But the Nick Spoelstra and, company that have continued to carry that on for the Heat has been, I think it's gone under the radar. Maybe that's what's been best for them. And you mentioned, that Kyle Lowry, great player, wouldn't consider him, a superstar. Jimmy Butler, I think, was a bigger star before he got to Miami. So, they're just quietly kind of putting the pieces together, and you never know. They made it to the championship in 2020 in the bubble, ended up losing to the Lakers, and now they've come to the Eastern Conference Finals. It looked like this might be the end of their run, but I wouldn't count them out going into the next couple of years should they keep the pieces they currently have in place.
Yeah, I just hope. And I even on this show that preceded us, 2 pros and a cup of Joe, they were saying, the Golden State Warriors are just playing at a higher level than either the Celtics or the Miami Heat or the team that they're trying to close out tonight, the Dallas Mavericks. I just hope it's not a Golden State cakewalk to the title in the final. I hope it's not Golden State in a sweep or Golden State in 5. I hope if it is Boston or if it's Miami, come on, you get a split in the first couple games. Give me a little something to get excited about. And again, Shannon, as I mentioned, I've seen this movie so many times. Golden State Warriors win the NBA Finals with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Steve Kerr. It's a movie I've seen. Yeah, I did see something on TV last night, Shannon, and we'll get into it a little bit later. We'll see if Jeremy saw it. And I don't think you've seen it yet. You might have the HBO Real Sports segment. The latest episode of it has an extended segment. In fact, they open with it on Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Watson's accusers. And I must say, seeing 2 of them on camera, hearing them tell the story, it seemed very damning to me. It's disgusting, some of the things we heard. Jeremy Kolok, I think I saw you nodding. Did you get a chance to look at it?
No, I feel bad because that's literally the last thing you discussed with me before I walked out of the building yesterday. But I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, I'll talk more about it. Shannon, you haven't seen it yet, have you?
No.
Okay.
Not in an environment where that's fun to have on the back of TV.
Yeah,
I don't think others would enjoy it.
Yeah, no, and it's not. There was even when I was about to watch it, my wife Beth says, "Oh, I'll watch. We've got like a living room TV, which is our biggest TV in the house, and then I got a little TV screen back where it's like my office." And she goes, "Oh, you can watch it out here. I'll watch it with you." I said, I don't think you want to watch it with me. I said, it's Deshaun Watson and it's graphic allegations of sexual assault. I said, no. And she said, "Oh, okay. I won't watch that." So, but to their credit, and we'll get into it a little bit later in the show, HBO and Real Sports, Soledad O'Brien was the interviewer of the alleged victims. And she then interviewed an attorney for Deshaun Watson. At first, Deshaun Watson attorneys declined, but at the 11th hour, they said, up, can we get an attorney on to say our side of the case? And wisely, it was a female attorney. So, in situations like this, when a man is being accused of such things and the accusers are female, often, and this is just a smart lawyering move, you get a female attorney to speak out on behalf of the man, in this case, Deshaun Watson. And this attorney pointed out that there were, I think, 3 of these 22 accusers, 3 of them actually did, according to Deshaun Watson, voluntarily engage in sexual acts with Deshaun Watson after these massage appointments. And according to Deshaun Watson's attorney, a number of them, even after what they allege, then were having relationships with him on Instagram and asking to go out on dates with him. So I think that Houston grand jury, and I think there were 2 grand juries who decided not to press criminal charges against Deshaun Watson. I think when you look at all of those things in the aggregate, it really does, I think, taint some of the other accusers who may be very, very legitimate in their accusations. So it's murky, it's ugly. I cringe talking about it. I wish we didn't have to, but it's a big, big story. So we'll get into that more a little bit later. Speaking of NFL football and stories in the NFL, we understand Colin Kaepernick had a workout yesterday with the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll talk about that, especially we'll talk about that with James Allen, our good friend from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He'll join us at 8:05. 8:35, Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics. Shannon's Salty Shakedown just after 7:30. Sports history, sports birthdays, and more. The high five play of the day is next. Lots and lots and lots of sports talk coming at you on a Throwback Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. You're listening to The Chris Duel Show. Great tune. Great tune. A new religion that'll bring you to your knees. Black Velvet, if you please. And of course, Alana Miles is singing about the king, Elvis Presley. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. By the man of Cadillac. All right. I need Steve Duraco. Welcome in. Steve Duraco, the original rock. Let's see who we see in here. John Williams, Tracy Bogert, Luisa Alanis, Ralph Balderas, Amber, a.k.a. Foamfoot 420, Anthony Del Toro, Jesse Bratton, Hector Gomez, Wes Perkins. I think I said Ralph Balderas. Good morning, everybody. I've got to edit. Luckily, I don't have to record them, but I got to edit some spots. Let me see which one I'm going to start with. June. O.M. Garcia, good morning. Welcome in. Let's see, I've got to turn that on. And this whole thing is so long. I've got to do some serious editing here. Equal housing lender. Okay, I see what's happening there. All right, let's do that. Hector Gomez says tomorrow Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Disney Channel. Man, I am still behind on the Mandalorian, for crying out loud. Okay, let me see this real quick. How's this?
LoanPronto.com 5122.
Gosh, I'm loud.
LoanPronto.com 51.
That's not going to work.
Loan Pronto can help you unlock that home equity and get cash out with a great low rate so you can pay off all that high interest debt and stop the madness. Loan Pronto can tap your home equity in as fast as 2 weeks, give you a check for 50, 60, 70 grand or more. Pay off the cars, pay off your car, pay off other high interest debt. You just have one low monthly payment. And even if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. Most people who do this see monthly savings of $800 to $900. Call Loan Pronto now. Unlock that equity and wipe out bad debt. Do it now and you can even skip your next 2 house payments altogether. Call 512-298-4600. LoanPronto.com.
There it is.
512-298-4600. That's LoanPronto.com. 512-298-4600. That's LoanPronto.com. 51.
When you woke up this morning, before you knocked over your water, came around your glasses, or stumbled to the bathroom to put in your contacts, stepping on every small toy along the way. What did you see? A world that was dull and fuzzy? Instead, what if when you woke up, you saw a world that was bright and clear? It's a possibility with LASIK and LASIK Plus. We've performed over 2 million LASIK procedures nationwide. That's a lot of happy patients, thanks to the expert medical teams at LASIK Plus. LASIK only takes minutes, with most patients back to normal activities the next day. So don't wait. Make your mornings brighter with the help of LASIK Plus. Right now at LASIK Plus, get 20% off LASIK in May. That can be over $900 off when treating both eyes, plus guaranteed financing. Visit mylasicoffer.com. That's mylasicoffer.com. The patient's choice for LASIK. Must mention this promotion will be created in May of 2022. Qualify 20% off standard price of procedure. Cannot be combined with any other offers. Go to mylasicoffer.com for details.
get rid of 3 seconds here. Jason Paniagua has Top Gun tickets for tomorrow. Yeah, Verlander and Pena are pretty darn amazing. All right, I got to kill 3 seconds on this commercial.
It's fast, easy home refi from my friends at Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto can help you unlock that home equity and get cash out with a great low rate so you can pay off all that high interest debt and stop the madness. Loan Pronto can tap your home equity in as fast as 2 weeks and get you a check for 50, 60, 70 grand or more. Pay off the cards, pay off your car, pay off other high interest debt. You just have one low monthly payment. And even if your home the cards pay off. Pay off the cards, pay off your car. Pay off the cards, pay off your car, pay off. Pay off the cards, pay off your car, pay off. $70,000 or more. Pay off other high interest debt. You just have one low monthly payment.
Wow.
Friends of Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto can help you unlock that home equity and get cash out with a great low rate so you can pay off all that high interest debt and stop the madness. Loan Pronto can tap your home equity in as fast as 2 weeks and get you a check for 50, 60, 70 grand or more. Pay off other high interest debt. You just have one low monthly payment. And even if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so,
Here we go.
We're back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. By dialing 1-800-707-9760.
And you can even dance. As David Bowie would request. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, who is nailing sports prophecy left and right. In fact, we do have Shannon Amber on the live video feed. You know, you suggest that maybe your new title will be the Salty Soothsayer. Amber says you should use Salty's Magic Salt Shaker. So you could get an actual salt shaker, Shannon, and you could get that sponsored. Maybe by a salt car. It could be sponsored by anybody. Get the logo on the salt shaker, and then you could have each team or the horses from the horse race, and you could just, sprinkle some salt on whichever winner you want to choose. It could be very, very visual, Shannon. It could be a TikTok thing. It could be a TikTok phenomenon.
Well, isn't there, when you spill salt, you throw it over your left shoulder or something?
Yeah, you do that for good luck, right?
Yeah, so I don't know if it feels like the opposite.
It does. Or you pour salt on the wound, which is no fun.
That's my fantasy football team name every year. Pouring salt on your wounds. Yeah.
Or salt on. Nice.
I like that.
Very, very nice. So, all right. Well, if you have Shannon has been just on a crazy roll picking the Triple Crown, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness so far, nailed it. Looks like she's going to nail each of these NBA series. She had Golden State Warriors in 5. If they win tonight, and they should at home at the Chase Center in San Francisco, they'll win that series in 5 over the Dallas Mavericks. And if Boston, as expected, wins tomorrow night, Shannon picked Celtics in 6. She'll get that one right as well. So if you got any ideas, I think she needs a special sports prophecy nickname.
I also got Justin Thomas for the PGA Championship, which I'm
Yes.
excited to talk to Andy about later today.
Woo! Andy Everett, the elitist golfer who has no time to watch Tom Brady, Patrick
Nope.
Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Aaron Rodgers play golf because he's better than they
On
are.
a Wednesday. What is he
On a
doing on a
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Exactly. I'm Andy Everett. I don't have time for that. Andy's going to join us at 8:35, always entertaining and enlightening, as is James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, going to join us just after 8 o'clock this morning. One of the things we want to talk to James Allen about, Colin Kaepernick gets a tryout with the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll talk about that coming up, maybe even this segment after the high five play of the day. How amazing would it be if Colin Kaepernick found his way back into the National Football League? And there are some, and I tend to agree with them, who say NFL owners have it out for Colin Kaepernick and they would not allow that to happen. But Mark Davis, son of Al Davis, who was always a renegade in the American Football League and the National Football League. Yeah, Mark Davis may be channeling his father and saying, hey, man, if I and Shannon, and we'll get into it in a moment, but from a marketing standpoint, if you're Mark Davis and the Las Vegas Raiders, if he made your team, Colin Kaepernick jerseys would go through the roof, even if he's your backup quarterback, which I think he would be, to Derek Carr on that bench. You would sell a ton, and the NFL would make money on that as well, of Colin Kaepernick jerseys, I would think.
Yeah, and I think, if you're Derek Carr, you can't be upset about this because you just got that giant extension, right? You are the face of that franchise. I don't think there should be a worry in the back of his mind that, oh my goodness, they're going to give Cap my job. I think if anything, it's maybe relief that, in years past when he's played really well and led that team to a lot of victories, and then he's gotten injured, their chances went away with it. And with someone like Cap behind him, they could fare a little bit better should something happen to him this season. So I think it's a win-win for all parties. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes up. Also in Raiders news, unfortunately, Sincere McCormick of UTSA placed on the reserved injured list. So his 2022 campaign effectively over. So I haven't seen what the injury was, but wishing him a speedy recovery, because I think he can really, he's got something to show up there at the next level.
Yeah, Andy Everett, as we mentioned, knows the career certainly at UTSA of Sincere McCormick intimately. So we'll certainly bring that up with Andy Everett. And gosh, you hate to see that for Sincere McCormick. I mean, he had the odds stacked against him already to make that roster as an undrafted free agent, as great as he was at UTSA as a running back. Now to have to combat an injury and try again is, you got to think perhaps that diminishes his chances significantly. I sure hope not. All right. It is coming up on 6:44. How about the high five play of the day? We do this every morning at this time. We like to give out high fives to those who are deserving in the world of sports, sometimes outside the world of sports. High five play of the day is appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. It's kind of a mecca of sports and eating and drinking and playing games. Big screen TVs everywhere. Watch whatever sports you love. Great food, great drinks, food specials, drink specials, and all kinds of games you can play, from bowling to laser tag to axe throwing to zombie dodgeball and much, much more. Get into one of the 2 High Five locations in Austin. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, who's getting that high five this morning?
Today's high five is going to the Astros ace, Justin Verlander. The Astros, by the way, just finished their series with the Cleveland Guardians, winning that one 2. They did drop that first game, so 2-1 in that series. They take on Seattle coming up this weekend. And Justin Verlander, our man, will get the start on Friday. And since his last start, He's had 8 so far this season. He's had 51 in 2 innings, 6-1 record, a 1.22 ERA, 0.772 whip, and 49 strikeouts. He is making a great campaign for himself to win another Cy Young, and I think rightfully so. He would deserve it at this point after the 2020-2021 season, or lack thereof, that he had with those injuries that he was dealing with. For him to come out from that, be 39 years old, and still wreak havoc on the league. Astros right now sitting atop of their division with 29 wins. The Los Angeles Angels are 2 games behind that. So the Astros on a roll, and Justin Verlander himself on a roll as well, making a great campaign for the Cy Young.
My goodness. Yeah. Leading the league in earned run average. And just looking, and as you mentioned, he's 39 years old. Even if he wasn't coming back from a major injury, at 39 years old, we would almost certainly doubt him, and say, oh, Verlander's 39. An ERA of 1.22, best in the league. The next closest pitcher is a 1.29, but nobody's better in earned run average than Justin Verlander. And, you hope that he can keep a good thing going, Shannon. And 2 of the big stories for the Astros, obviously, Justin Verlander thus far, and Jeremy Pena. People now saying not only is he a worthy replacement thus far, it's still a small sample size, it's only May 26th, but people are now saying he may be, if he continues on this pace, he may be one of the best shortstops in the American League and in baseball. So the Astros, 2 major question marks going into the season. Does Verlander still have it? And then how are we going to replace Carlos Correa at shortstop and Jeremy Pena? And I know the high five this morning is going to Verlander, but I just think those 2 stories for the Astros are so huge. But Verlander, man, it's again at 39. We've seen this. We see this with every athlete, Shannon. When it goes quickly. It hasn't gone yet for Tom Brady. Often an NFL wide receiver, when they hit 35, you see a drop off in breakaway speed pretty quickly. So I'm just hoping, Shannon, it's late May. It's almost June. Let's keep this going with Verlander and the Astros through October. And again, I would just love. There's still a lot of Astro haters out there after the scandal. I would just love for winning a championship is the best revenge, and I think it would drive Astro haters crazy. So I'm hoping Verlander leads the way with that pitching staff and helps them to do this. And certainly at this point of the season, you got to believe they've got a shot.
Yeah, just over 40 games in on this season, and Jeremy Pena, this being he is 24, so he's, not new to professional baseball, but major leagues, and the season is about 40 games longer, right, than the AAA season and those lower levels. So if he can maintain this and maintain it throughout, you just mentioned October, add those postseason games on top of that really lengthy schedule. If they can keep him healthy and in the right mindset throughout that, yeah, he's on a roll right now. And I'm very we didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect following Carlos Correa. You thought you just maybe get a body in there, but for this to happen so quickly, I don't think the Astros could have dreamt of a better scenario.
And I think another thing to consider, you think about that 2017 season when the Astros won the World Series. Right before the trade deadline, they needed a pitcher. That's when they got Verlander, which turned out to be a brilliant move. Verlander, all those years in Detroit, and he comes to the Astros. I think it was August. It was late in the season at the trading deadline, and then he's a phenom and is a big part of the postseason and helping the Astros win that World Series. The beauty now of Carlos Correa moving on, and obviously I didn't want to see it. Astros fans didn't want to see it, but he did it. He got paid, and the Minnesota Twins threw a lot more money at him than the Astros could or would. But because you're paying Jeremy Pena at a much more discounted rate than you would have paid Carlos Correa, you got to believe, Shannon, the Astros have more money in their coffers. So if they are in contention as the trading deadline approaches in a few months, and they do need another pitcher, or if they do need another bat and another key player that they think could put them over the top to go out and win the World Series, you've got financial latitude now with Correa moving on and Jeremy Pena filling his footsteps so wonderfully thus far. So things are looking very, very bright for the Houston Astros right now.
Yeah, and hopefully they will spend the money wisely so they don't get themselves into another situation similar to what they had this offseason, right? Because there's no guarantees that you're going to get the next Jeremy Pena every single time.
True. But Jeremy Kolok, that Astros personnel department, going all the way back to kind of the money ball they played back when they were the worst team in baseball. And they got guys like Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman and others. Whatever they're doing in the player personnel and development department to see this talent out there and acquire it. Jeremy Pena is the latest. Yordan Alvarez before that. Jeremy Pena is the latest shining example of the Astros having an amazing eye for talent.
Yeah, and you mentioned how there's still a lot of Astros haters because of the obvious championship year and what went on in that season. But I think there's something to be much respected, and a lot of baseball fans respect a team that builds a team the way the Astros do, an organization that builds from the draft and from their minor leagues and from prospects and from good scouting. I think that baseball fans like that a lot. You like to see that. I've got to believe baseball fans prefer seeing that in a team that builds their roster that way succeed over a team like the Dodgers and the Yankees that are just throwing money that other franchises couldn't dream of having. And also, just back to Verlander, y'all mentioned his age, but he's got to be one of the oldest. If he were to win the Cy Young, he's got to be one of the oldest guys to ever do. I know Roger Clemens.
Whoa.
He was, 42?
Yeah.
I don't know when Verlander turns 40, but the longevity of his career is insane. And I think I said this to y'all once before, but Verlander and Kershaw are the dudes of my generation. Those are the pitchers. There's nobody. Those guys are untouchable.
Now, I just Googled who was the oldest player to win the Cy Young. My first result, and I'll double check this, says Gaylord Perry at age 40 became the oldest pitcher to receive the award until it was broken by, and you got it, Roger Clemens at age 42. So it is Roger Clemens, a Longhorn. Hook 'em, Shannon. You must be proud. Roger Clemens continues to be the man, even though he's a little controversy surrounding him in his baseball career.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Very, very cool. All right. Coming up, I do want to talk more about Colin Kaepernick and his tryout with the Las Vegas Raiders. We will dive into the HBO Real Sports segment on Deshaun Watson and his accusers. We'll certainly talk more NBA basketball as the Boston Celtics beat the Miami Heat last night, 93-80. They take a 3-2 lead in that series. They can close it out tomorrow night, while the Golden State Warriors will try to wrap up their series against the Dallas Mavericks tonight and punch their ticket to the NBA Finals. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays, and don't forget, big 8 o'clock hour, James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and golf elitist Andy Everett, who will not watch those quarterbacks play golf, which is now just about a week away. Or less. So we'll get into all of that coming up. Thanks for hanging out with us. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He's Jeremy Kolok. I'm Chris. Till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Good morning, Beth Settle. You're up early. Thought you'd be sleeping in this morning a little bit. But good morning, and good morning, everybody else. Robert Browning, good morning. Ralph Balderas. Oscar O. Valdez. Oscar, we'll make sure Salty sees that. Hey, Salt, also bring life. It bring flavor. God wants us to be the salt of the world. Just an FYI. Sweeney brings life. Wow. That's a high accolade. Very cool. And I got to get back to editing a spot, which is 1 minute and 2 seconds. It's 2 seconds too long. I gotta lose a phrase or something.
equity lines and car loans, they're costing you more and more. I got a way you can lower your overall monthly payments as much as $800 and say goodbye to 23% rates. It's fast, easy home refi from my friends at Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto can help you unlock that home equity and get cash out with a great low rate so you can pay off all that high interest debt and stop the madness. Loan Pronto can tap your home equity in as fast as 2 weeks and get you a check for 50, 60, 70 grand or more. Pay off
Okay, I'm going to try that.
just have one low monthly payment. $50,000 or more. Pay off other high interest.
See, it's a 60-second spot that's running 102.
50, 60, 70.
So I got to cut at least a second or two out.
Tap your home equity in as fast as 2 weeks.
I'm going to cut out the in as fast as 2 weeks.
Tap your home equity in as fast as.
It's audio surgery.
In as fast as 2 weeks, get you a check. In as fast as 2 weeks, get you a check. In as fast as 2 weeks, get you a check for 50, 60, 70 grand.
All right, let's see if that's it.
Tap your home equity, get you a check for 50, 60, 70.
All right. Now it's a minute 0.893 seconds. That'll actually do. Gosh, that was a little mind numbing. Let's see here. This is.
Ingredients you can't pronounce? Or essential oils? Your family. Vivo uses essential oil. Biological systems. So Vivo kills bugs. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Vivo. People friendly. Bug deadly. Now at a store near you.
One 4600. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval.
All right, I'm back now editing yet another one. Okay, that's 15 in. That's 30 seconds, and that'll work. Let's see here. File, save as. All right, here we go.
Chris here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? All those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. But listen, your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refi. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. In fact, a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of the home's value. Pay off all those high-interest credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. And even if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. Call Loan Pronto now. Unlock that equity and wipe out bad debt. Call 512-298-4600. LoanPronto.com. 512-298-4600. That's 512-298-4600. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval.
All right, that one's done. Got one more here. Let's see, which one is this?
Together. Call 512-298-4600. LoanPronto.com. 512-298-4600. That's 512-298-4600. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Bad debt. Do it now and
This one is
Hey, Chris here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? All those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. But listen, your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands of dollars in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off all those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. And even if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. Call Loan Pronto now. Unlock that equity and wipe out bad debt. Do it now, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments altogether. Call 512-298-4600. LoanPronto.com. 512-298-4600. That's 512-298-4600. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval.
all right. Cody Webb, welcome. Luisa saying it is 59 degrees out there. Is that right? My God. Enjoy it while it lasts. Summer is upon us. See what my weather app says it is. Whoa! You are correct. Hi-yo! Crazy, crazy, crazy. What is it in Austin? It's 42 degrees in Estes Park, 56 in Dallas, 48 in Marfa, home of the Marfa Prada store. Austin 60. So we are cooler than Austin at the moment. Woo! Good morning, Cody Webb. A thirsty Thursday. Temps are headed to 93. My goodness. Luis, are you trying to hone in on Jeremy Kolok's chief meteorologist status? Here we come. Woo! 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 Here it is. Let's do a little radio show on a Thursday.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
Today, try to run, try to the other side. We're gonna do this.
Now, Chris Duel.
Welcome in on a throwback Thursday. Although on our live video feed, Cody Webb says it is a thirsty Thursday. So maybe it's a throwback thirsty Thursday. Welcome in. So much going on in the world of sports. Two teams now poised on each of the next two nights to punch their tickets to the NBA Finals. That would be the Golden State Warriors tonight in San Francisco at the Chase Center. They can close out Shannon's beloved Dallas Mavericks, who she abandoned in her pick when she picked Warriors in 5, although she looks like she's going to be correct on that pick. And last night, we've been talking about it, the Boston Celtics beat the Miami Heat in Miami 93-80, a tight game at halftime. And that third quarter, Boston erupts. They double up the Miami Heat in the third quarter, 32-16, to take command of that game and cruised through the fourth quarter to victory. The Heat, one of their problems was inability to hit the three-point shot. Heat shot 15% from downtown last night. They were 7 of 45 from three-point distance. So we'll talk more NBA playoffs. We just talked a lot of Houston Astros, which I like, as the Astros win last night over the Cleveland Indians. Whoa! Guardians. I got to throw $5 in the tip jar.
Wow.
Thank you.
I bet you're still calling them the Washington Redskins too.
I know. I'm pretty good at not saying the R word when mentioning that Washington.
What are we doing here this morning?
I know, man.
And I can't hit dump that many times.
I know. We
are better than this.
What is wrong with me? All right. I'll work on it. Maybe the caffeine hasn't kicked in yet. Anyway, big win for the Astros. Astros looking good. We talked a lot of Astros baseball. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown in about 30 minutes. Also, this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and then a big 8 o'clock hour as James Allen, our good friend from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll talk with him certainly about NFL football, as Colin Kaepernick had a tryout yesterday with the Las Vegas Raiders. We talked a little bit about that. We'll talk more about that. And we also talk college football. I was able, Shannon, to listen. I was off last week on Friday and Monday, as you guys know, but I caught a lot of Friday's show, and James Allen was on with you guys on Friday. And, at the time, that whole Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban tiff was blowing up. And of course, James Allen, a Texas A&M alum who played football at A&M, certainly had some things to say about that. That is kind of, at least the last couple of days, Shannon, that's cooled down a little bit. I haven't heard any more salvos between Saban and Jimbo Fisher, but it isn't SEC Media Week due to come up. It'll be very, very interesting if those two dudes get in the same room here in a few weeks. That'll be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, middle of July, and I think it started to calm down because of the SEC. As we know, the SEC kind of verbally via written letter reprimanded the two coaches, right, saying that this isn't how we we do things here in this conference, and then Lane Kiffin, who has been enjoying popcorn on the sidelines for once not being involved in something like this, but it's still being within his division, and two guys I'm sure he knows pretty well, was tweeting away about all of the stuff, sharing lots of fun gifts. And he was told that he could not go on a radio show. I'm not sure which one it was, but he's apparently gone on this show a handful of times, and so they asked him to come on to give his 2 cents, and that last Friday, everyone was kind of banned via the SEC media to say, no, we're not doing interviews. So the SEC, I think, trying to put a big kibosh on this, and that's probably why we haven't heard any more from SEC coaches, and in particular Jimbo or Saban. But Steve Spurrier making it known that he's taken sides, and that side is Nick Saban. Saying that Jimbo is only saying something about Saban because he beat him, and that he has nothing else to hold against him, or to hold in favor of A&M at this point. So it's still pretty ugly, even though we haven't had more added on yet. But yeah, media days, probably about 6 weeks out now. So who knows if that'll be enough time for it to cool down, or if it'll just be the time to kick everything back up again.
Let's go around the horn here. You mentioned, Shannon, that Steve Spurrier sides with Nick Saban on this. See, it was Saban who singled out Texas A&M, as we described at length and discussed at length. So Saban named Texas A&M and said all of their players were bought and paid for, and then he went after Deion Sanders. So, somebody singles out you. If another radio talk show host said that Shannon Salty Sweeney with all of her picks, she paid for those picks. She didn't make those picks. She's subscribing to a handy. When somebody singles you out and singles you out in a way that Saban was suggesting they were cheating and going outside the rules to get their recruits, somebody throws a bomb at you. You pick up the mud or the dirt clod or the rocks and you throw them back. I am on Team Jimbo, at least in this dispute. Shannon, where do you stand? And you can't be neutral. Come on.
Yeah, I definitely think I lean towards Jimbo on this one. I'd be more on his side. I'd be more openly backing him up had he not come out with such a kind of ridiculous press conference. I think it would have been a better look for him to just not respond in that way, in the way he did it, kind of trying to go as low as he could without giving up any real information on Nick Saban. But I gotta, Texas first, and Texas A&M got my vote in
there
this
you go.
one.
Before we go to Jeremy, Wes Perkins giving us a little bit of cover, or at least me. I erroneously referred to the previous name of the Cleveland Guardians, which has since been done away with. Wes Perkins says slip-ups of the Cleveland baseball team. It is Throwback Thursday. So thank you, Wes Perkins. I said it's Throwback Thursday. I'm wearing my throwback Houston Astros logo t-shirt with the Astrodome in the logo. So Wes, thanks for the cover. Just my slip of the tongue. I just, you say something for 50 years and sometimes it comes out, even though it isn't cool. And I support the name change for Cleveland, and certainly for the Washington Commanders. Jeremy Kolok, you don't have to make this unanimous, and I don't think you would pander. You never have. But are you in this dispute on Team Jimbo Fisher or Team Nick Saban?
Yeah, I'm Team Saban as well because no, excuse me. I'm against Team Saban. Let me true. That was a close one. Yeah, I was just making sure I was almost Team Saban because I understand where he's coming from. He's talking to boosters.
Yeah.
And he's trying to say that we're going to get left behind. You're accustomed to a level of success here that I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with what's going on. But his biggest mistake, I think, is, well, obviously he called out Texas A&M, and that's why I'm Team Jimbo. And I think this whole thing is entertainment gold, and I just love it for that reason, to be honest. But I think Jimbo Fisher gets called out. I think he has a right to defend himself in some sort of way. But I think Saban's big mistake was he needed to say, we should be doing what Texas A&M's doing.
Yeah.
That's what he didn't say that he was missing. And also, Lane Kiffin, I believe, was scheduled on Friday, like Shannon said, to go on the Dan Patrick show, which Shannon mentioned he's done multiple times.
Yeah.
That's not a new appearance. And the SEC kiboshed it like within the hour of his appearance. Like Dan Patrick just got let known probably minutes before the segment. Like, well, I guess we're not having Lane Kiffin like we were scheduled to.
That's crazy that they would wield. And again, they're doing damage control because they were having, that spat was making national headlines. But I wonder, Shannon, if Lane Kiffin defied that SEC edict and said, "Hey, man, I'm scheduled. I'm Lane Kiffin. I'm going on the Dan Patrick show." I'm guessing they would have fined the university. What do you think the sanction would have been if he went on the show anyway?
See, that would have been really interesting, especially considering, the SEC has not fined Nick Saban or Jimbo Fisher. They just said, hey,
Good point.
basically stop acting like children. So if Lane Kiffin were to go on and basically act like the third child, the middle child who's not currently in the argument, right? The middle child typically involved in everything, and now he's getting to stand on the sidelines. If they were to have gone and said, all right, now we need to start fining you. But also it is Lane Kiffin, so it's like he knows better.
Yeah.
And so it's not surprising that he had an appearance scheduled. And also at the same time, not surprising that the SEC was like, okay, if anyone's going to be making an appearance here, it should not be Lane Kiffin. He is not the best representative of our association.
It would have been so good, though. I'm sorry we missed out on that moment. All right, let's dive back into the NBA for a moment here. Shannon, you're tracking a story about Kevin Durant, who there might be some trouble in Brooklyn Net land as far as his lack of communication with the executives in the front office at the Brooklyn Nets. Of course, we wildly speculated about, wouldn't it be nice if Kevin Durant decided to come play with his Olympic basketball head coach, who is named Gregory Charles Popovich, down here in San Antonio, be close to Austin, his alma mater, the Texas Longhorns, play a couple of games at the Moody Center for the Spurs, come back to Austin. Kevin Durant, what information do you have on Kevin Durant's status with regard to the Brooklyn Nets?
And so as we know, the Nets, another early exit from the playoffs, even earlier than the season prior. And apparently Kevin Durant's gone silent on that organization. And I'm not sure if it has to do with just him personally or the fact that the Nets are not considering signing Kyrie to an extended long-term deal. And obviously Kyrie some difficulties with, the COVID and some of the statements that he's made that, kept him off the court throughout his tenure with the Nets, that maybe Kevin Durant's just feeling like the experiment is no longer, it never worked to the way they wanted it to. And if they're not going to offer Kyrie an extension deal to hopefully work towards their original goal of bringing a championship to Brooklyn, that maybe it's his time to go elsewhere. So if there's going to be a move for Kevin Durant, it feels like this summer could be it.
Spurs have a lot of cap room. Jeremy Kolok, am I out of my mind? And I know it's a long shot, but Pop was Durant's coach. Durant did go to Texas. Durant continues to be a supporter of Longhorn athletics. I don't know, man. What do you think?
I don't think you're crazy. I don't know if I would hang my hat on that, but DeJounte Murray as well is a nice little asset to have when you're trying to recruit other players, if you ask me, not only on the court but off the court. A good recruiting piece to have.
This is true. So, do you, Jeremy? Now you're locked in on the NBA. I would say more than I am. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Do you think that's a point of contention for Kevin Durant? I mean, does he want Kyrie back? I always wondered, given the whole COVID thing. And I've always believed in take one for the team, and it was quite literal. If Kyrie Irving would have, gotten vaccinated so that he could have played with the Brooklyn Nets, he chose not to. Is Kevin Durant cool with how the season played out for Kyrie Irving? Do you think?
I would say he's probably not cool. And one of the biggest things too here is that Shannon mentioned the Nets might not even bring back Kyrie because of the same reasons you just mentioned. I mean, why? He's unreliable. And then with Kevin Durant, I mean, Obviously, who's to say if he regrets his decision? But when you compare it to where he came from, coming from Golden State in that situation with just the ultimate teammates in Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and those guys who just allowed him to freely flow and, you know, join his game into something they already had that was tremendous. I mean, they won 73 games. So when you compare where he came from and now he's in this situation, it's probably hard for him not to feel some regrets or some desires for his situation to change or the situation around him to change. And maybe he's having conversations with the Nets behind closed doors, since the Nets seem to want to make their player personnel part of management so bad openly, it seems. And maybe that conversation is going on to try to rebuild this team with assets that you can get for Kyrie Irving or whatever else you can try to deal out.
Yeah, and Shannon, think about it from Kevin Durant's perspective right now. I mean, most analysts right now believe strongly the Golden State Warriors are going to win the championship this year. You know, he walked away from that situation. He could be there right now. Yep. You look at the arc of his career, Oklahoma City, you know, when he was there, granted, they were very young, but they did go deep into the finals, you know, with James Harden, with Russell Westbrook, and with him. I mean, you talk about a big three. That was a pretty darn big three. They couldn't close the deal. So you don't win it when you had really good talent surrounding you at Oklahoma City. You go to Golden State, you win a lot. You leave Golden State, they keep winning without you and probably win a title here in June of 2022. You go to Brooklyn, where this year everybody said in the East it'll be the Brooklyn Nets, and you underperform again. And we know from his Twitter activities and his burner accounts, he does have an ego and he does have feelings. He's probably not in a good place right now.
Yeah, the Warriors winning before Kevin Durant got there, which of course created the cupcake narrative, and I think this move to Brooklyn was all about, you know, changing the narrative of his career as a whole to say, you know, yes, I went to this team, but I did make them better, and that is why we continue to win championships. It wasn't just that they had already been on a roll without me, but now he goes to New York, it doesn't work out. And whether that be the issues they've had with personnel or otherwise, for whatever the reason, it hasn't been a success. And as you said, Golden State, they had those down years, but a lot of that due to injury. Now we see that they could very easily win themselves yet another championship. And so the narrative has really not changed much for Kevin Durant since he made that move. And so he's going to have to really sit down and decide, I guess, what he values more in the future. Is it another championship? Is it winning a championship with a team that's already set up and ready to roll, right? Does he want to say, hey, let me play for the Phoenix Suns for a season or two and see if I'm that missing piece that can get them over the hump in the playoffs? Because, you know, clearly CP3 is never going to do it on his own. Or does he stick it out in Brooklyn or even go somewhere else just to have a good career? Because the Spurs, right, you put him there. I don't think that makes them, you know, a shoe-in for a good run in the playoffs, but I think they get enough to get into the playoffs and not have to deal with a play-in game. But, you know, is it going to be Kevin Durant and the others, or is it going to be Kevin Durant plus one that he might bring with him?
Going to be fascinating however it plays out, and it is certainly throughout the summer something to keep an eye on. Shannon, speaking of the NBA, as we know, in February on 2/2/2022, I forgave number 2, Kawhi Leonard. I didn't want to have that darkness, that anger in my heart and in my soul. So it's like, all right, it's over. Let it go. Move on. Relax and release. Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, you go on with your life. I'll go on with mine. I can't hate you every minute of every day. Kawhi Leonard, apparently a joyous event may be happening in the life of one Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, it's yet to be confirmed. As we know, Kawhi Leonard not big on the social media usage, and so we don't get a lot of statements from him about his life or otherwise, and that's fine. But because he is in the public eye, and especially out there in LA, people love to take photos of him, and they love to speculate, and they love to take photos of people that he might be in relationships with. And his girlfriend has been sporting a very large ring on that finger. So the current
Ooh.
speculation is that Kawhi, for all the rings that he has acquired, he has had to purchase one and put it on someone else's hand for a time being. So, well, I guess we'll see if that gets confirmed. It'll be interesting. Obviously he had a lot of free time this last NBA season, not playing for the Clippers, dealing with that injury. We saw a couple of his New Balance commercials. I saw a new one during the last Mavericks game featuring Jack Harlow and Kawhi Leonard. So he's had a lot of free time. I don't know, maybe in his recovery, the girlfriend was nice enough to where he was like, yeah, you know what? I might keep you around.
Well, and I think it is refreshing. Normally, when an athlete gets engaged these days, often the woman he's getting engaged to also has a big social media presence, like Patrick Mahomes' significant other. And normally she's on Instagram and social media showing you her ring. I must say, even though, and again, I have forgiven Kawhi Leonard, it doesn't necessarily make me a big fan of Kawhi Leonard. But I will say, if the way we're finding out about this is people doing detective work going, ooh, look at that, she's got a ring, but she's not saying, hey, look at me, look at my ring from Kawhi. That's usually the way it goes lately. If they do it on the down low, I'm a little bit, I'm impressed by that. It's refreshing these days.
Right, because at the end of the day, it should be more about the engagement and much less about the ring itself. And you're right. I think in today's society, it's all about the ring rather than what it symbolizes or what it means.
All right, we got a lot more coming at you in just a few moments. We will dive into Shannon's Salty Shakedown on a Throwback Thursday, Thirsty Thursday. Then, in addition to that, coming up, we'll bring you This Day in Sports History, Sports Birthdays, and as we've been mentioning, big 8 o'clock hour, our good friend James Allen, board member and on the selection committee of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, his thoughts on Colin Kaepernick's tryout with the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't think I've ever asked James directly. James runs with a lot of NFL owners, and it's a lot of people's contention, and it's my contention that Colin Kaepernick is blacklisted by NFL owners because, I've outlined it before what my reasoning is, because they feel he lost them money when he was taking a knee, and it turned a lot of fans away from the NFL, and that affected their pocketbooks. When you cost billionaires money, they get a little bit vindictive, apparently. I'll ask that question of James Allen coming up at 8 o'clock. Don't forget Andy Everett, golf guru, golf elitist, and the voice of UTSA athletics. His thoughts on the Sincere McCormick injury in Raiders camp, his thoughts on the world of golf, and Shannon's continued prophecy coming to pass across all sports. So lots coming at you. Thanks for hanging out with us. You can join us throughout the morning on the phone lines. You can dial us up at 800-707-9760. Lots of people joining us on the live video feed via Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And you can always talk back to us on the free and crystal clear iHeart Radio app. Little microphone button there. You press it, you record, you talk back to us, you send it, we get it immediately, we play it on the air, and we react to it. It's fun. We are with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo! Gotta look something up here for sports history. Sammy Sosa. All right, I got that. That's good. Man, Anthony, I hope you're right that Boston would beat Golden State and Derek White, Ime Udoka, Will Hardy would all get rings. That would be so cool. Because, as I keep saying, I've seen that Golden State Warriors movie way too many times by now. So I don't want to see the Warriors win another one, but it looks like they're going to. I hope you're right. Okay, what do I need here? Going through these spots, I have to record. Let's see, I need QC Kinetics. Where is that? There it is.
We are in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you can't live like you want to. So much we want to do outdoors right now, but hip pain, knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, it sucks the fun out of living. But I got fantastic news. QC Kinetics is helping people get their lives back with advanced regenerative treatments, joints, giving you real lasting relief from pain. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, all-natural options. Yes, you can get real relief from pain with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Stop putting it off. Call QC
I already
Kinetics
did
now.
that. I see. Okay.
And the patient satisfaction reports are incredible. They've got over 100 clinics nationwide.
I got to edit this spot down. It's too long.
And
Is
the patient
that it?
satisfaction reports are incredible. They've got and the patient satisfaction reports are incredible. They've got over all natural options. They've got over 100 clinics nationwide, including right here. Yes, you.
Here we come. All right. Woo!
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Welcome back on this Thursday, May 26th, a throwback Thursday, a thirsty Thursday, a taco Thursday. Because every day's a taco day, not just Tuesday. Come on now. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame going to join us just after the top of the hour. We'll talk all things NFL, probably college football as well. He's had a week to digest the Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban war. We'll get into that. We'll talk about Colin Kaepernick and his tryout with the Las Vegas Raiders yesterday. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics, our very own golf guru, or is he? Is Shannon Salty Sweeney our very own golf guru now, as she's has a better record of handicapping the who's going to win these PGA tournaments? We'll talk with Andy Everett coming up just after 8:30. Also, the news, the Sincere McCormick injury involving the Las Vegas Raiders, where he's trying out, coming out of UTSA. We'll get Andy's reaction to that and his perspective on that and a whole lot more. You are invited to join us throughout the morning on the live video feed on the iHeartRadio app, where you can talk back to us by pressing that microphone button, which is the talk back button, and sending us your message. Or you can always dial us up on the phone lines, 800-707-9760. In a moment, Shannon's salty shakedown for this thirsty Thursday. But first, how about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? May 26th, 1974, the Indianapolis 500. Your winner is Johnny Rutherford, claiming his first of what would be 3 Indianapolis 500 victories. It was the first Sunday start for the event. It was usually a Memorial Day Monday start for the Indy 500. On this day in 1997, Sammy Sosa of the Cubs and Tony Womack of the Pittsburgh Pirates both hit inside the park home runs for their respective teams 5 minutes apart in the 6th inning of that baseball game. Very improbable. Never happened before in baseball. Cubs win in Pittsburgh 2-1 that day when 2 inside the park home runs happened for each team in the 6th inning. Finally, on this day in 2002, another Indianapolis 500 result. Defending champion Helio Castroneves of Brazil becomes the 5th driver in Indy 500 history to win back-to-back races. That would become his second of 4 Indy victories. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1939, American sportscaster Brent Musburger. A lot of time on CBS Sports. We brought him up earlier in the week on the NFL Today, that pregame show with Jimmy the Greek Snyder, Irv Cross, Phyllis George, Jane Kennedy. He went on to ESPN, ABC. He does a betting show now on Sirius XM radio, and he is now the play-by-play voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. A lot of Las Vegas Raiders news today. Brent Musburger was born in Portland, Oregon. Born on this day in 1949, longtime Houston Oilers quarterback, number 7, Dan Pastorini. He would play for the Oakland Raiders late in his career and appear in the 1980 Super Bowl. He made the Pro Bowl in 1975. I always wanted an old Texas Super Bowl. Would have been Dan Pastorini versus Roger Staubach, but it never happened. Dan Pastorini was born in Sonora, California. Finally, born on this day in 1955, NFL wide receiver, 2-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro in 1978, and he played for the Jets. Wesley Walker, Somewhere Walter Pasacreta recognizes that name. Wesley Walker was born in San Bernardino, California. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your Thirsty Thursday Salty Shakedown.
Chris, I don't know how to take this news. I really don't. We've seen artists do this, musical acts. They either have a stage name and then they may revert back to their birth name or vice versa, or they just change their name throughout their career. I've got family members who have legally changed their name a few times, but someone I never thought would ever change their name, especially given the history and the feeling people have behind him, especially at his fan base at the University of Texas. Ricky Williams is no longer Ricky Williams. He has officially had a legal name change. He wasn't actually born Ricky Williams. He was born Eric Williams. And then he goes on to say that the Williams last name wasn't even his actual father's last name. So that was never really his real name. So now he is going by Eric Miron. Miron is the last name of his wife, so he has taken on his wife's last name.
Whoa.
Apparently the change happened a year and a half ago, but he's just now making it known that this is how he would like to be referred to, both in his personal life and in the media, which is saying something because, as we know, he's part of those LHN broadcasts from time to time for the football games and other things. And he's obviously got the Williams Foundation and many companies that he runs. He has his yoga stuff. He has his astrology stuff he's got going on now, and obviously his other extracurricular activities that people know him well for. This is what, when I think of Ricky Williams, I still think of the long dreads hanging out of that helmet and just bulldozing for that touchdown in the end zone where he, became the leading rusher. I don't think of Eric Williams. I want to know if Texas is now going to go over to his Heisman statue at DKR and put a new name on there. Are they going to change all the other awards that he's received and put a new name on there? I mean, I don't know that, much like we had the slip up earlier with the Cleveland baseball team.
Yeah, who did
running
that?
into formerly known Ricky Williams. If I can even I wouldn't even, Eric might not even cross my mind to even say as his new name if I needed to think about it in meeting him once again. So your thoughts on this? And he says he did it because when he and his wife would go out, there was this feeling of she wasn't worth anything. It was all about him. So that way he's trying to level the playing field of their marriage. He said it's been better for them since he's made the change, and that she can brag to her friends that her husband took her last name.
I actually think that's cool. I've always thought it was peculiar in our culture and in our world, a world of a patriarchy where women take their husbands' names. To me, again, I said it was refreshing, the Kawhi Leonard story. I think it's refreshing that the former Ricky Williams would take his wife's name and become Eric Miron. Hey, man. It's your life. You got to live your life the way you want to live it. I'm all about people choosing to live their life as long as you don't hurt somebody else and it means something to you. What strikes me though, Shannon, now we have to consider the list of famous name changes in sports. Muhammad Ali was Cassius Clay. I think that's number one. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was Lou Alcindor. Meta World Peace was Ron Artest. So, now we're the growing list of big time athletes who changed their name. Add Eric Miron to this list.
But I mean, you list those names, and I feel like they became more famous with their new names.
True.
Whereas Ricky Williams is kind of gone by the wayside a little bit. I don't know if he'll have some giant comeback in the media at some point, but I love the reasoning behind it. It's gonna be hard, right? We Ricky Williams, we think of a person, we think of an action, and now we've got not just one name change, but both name changed. He is now going by Eric Miron, both in his personal life and in the media. Moving on, we talked some Deshaun Watson as HBO released on Real Sports the conversation with a few of his accusers, and you mentioned that in the 11th hour. An attorney for the Deshaun Watson camp made an appearance to get their 2 cents in on the matter. Well, that felt like something that was obviously calculated and timed. And in that same regard, I feel like the actions of Deshaun Watson yesterday at OTA was very much a timed and worked and thought through process, because as we know, he's now with the Cleveland Browns, and the jersey number 4, which he wore during his time in Houston, was not a free and available jersey at the time of his movement over to the Cleveland Browns. But his teammate, Anthony Walker, just willingly gave it to him. He did not make him pay. He didn't, I guess he just figured he's the $230 million quarterback. I'm just going to let him have it. I don't want to be that guy. He is now sporting number 5. But the linebacker, Anthony Walker, yesterday was speaking with the media, being recorded on video, and you can check it out. There's not much audio to it. But Deshaun Watson comes over during the press conference and hands the man a gift, and it is a box. And what is in that box but a Rolex? A thank you gift for the jersey number. But then Anthony goes on to say, man, what a guy, what a good guy. He does not open the gift in front of everyone. I mean, he's a little embarrassed at the time, but I think the ambush of the press conference had to be staged, right? You had all of practice, you had all the off season, you've had number 4 for a while now with that team, but you waited until this man was in front of a video camera and in front of a bunch of microphones.
Yeah, I to me, that's all for show. You can give that gift in private. You're looking, and again, I get it for Deshaun Watson. He wants other Deshaun Watson stories out there other than the god awful story from his accusers. So I see it, but yeah, I see through it like you do, Shannon, at the same time.
Finally, this is just a fun story from the other side of the pond. We're so used to championship parades, whether they be on the water with the Bucks or in the street with the Rams and all 30 of their fans. They've become commonplace following championships. And there's something that I think a lot of people want to experience, maybe even more than winning the championship themselves, just being on top of a moving vehicle in the streets with people chanting and cheering your name, and you getting to drink to great excess because you're not the one handling that moving vehicle. Well, over across the pond in a town called Scunthorpe, a team by the name of College Wonders FC. They're a Saturday League football team, and they're made up of laborers and teachers and car salesmen. They won a title for their weekend league. And so the 18 players each put 40 pounds in to rent a bus that they then had drive around town. And it was one of those like tour-like buses. So it had the open air top that they could sit on, and they were drinking and having a good old time. They stopped at a pub and then jumped back on. People were out on the streets waving and congratulating them. A little odd, you know, there was no trophy to be held. There were lots of empty seats on the bus, right? There was no added, children or family or, celebrities to enjoy, because they're just a local men's group who just won their championship, and they wanted to celebrate in the way that the big pros do with a parade. They even had their route pre-scheduled ahead of time so people would know where to find them. That just made me happy. At first I was like, this is ridiculous, but it's ridiculously fun, Chris. I'm okay with it.
So am I, especially because these are regular guys. These are regular workers who came together and played on the soccer team. It almost has I know it's completely different. It's a pro team on Ted Lasso, but almost has a Ted Lasso kind of a feel, something you might see on Ted Lasso. So very, very cool. I'm with you on that. Good for them.
I love it. If I saw one of these coming down my street, I would definitely get out and cheer, and then also maybe ask one of them to toss me a beer. But that's just me. There it is, today's Salty Shakedown.
Excellent Salty Shakedown. We're getting all kinds of, you mentioned Ricky Williams, Shannon, changing his name to Eric Miron, Miron being his wife's last name. So Jeremy Kolok on the live video feed reminds us of Chad Ochocinco. That's a name change. Abel Cerritos reminds us of World B Free. That was Lloyd Free. Abel also said Eldrick Woods. Now, Tiger Woods, I think he was called Tiger from a very young age. But yeah, his birth name is Eldrick. So that is a growing list, Shannon, of athletes who have changed their name, but and maybe we'd have to look it up. Ricky Williams, I don't know how old he is right now, but he could certainly be the guy to change his name the latest in his life. I mean, every other name that we've mentioned otherwise, names were changed either Tiger Woods very young, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Muhammad Ali early in, if not the prime of their career. So for Ricky Williams to do this at compared to your pro career, a relatively advanced age for an athlete, I think that makes it a little bit noteworthy.
Yeah, he just turned 45 last week. So, and he said this was a year and a half ago. So 40, 44, 43 when he did it.
Very, very interesting.
I love how Ricky Williams, you said he changed his name a year and a half ago. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, and now he's like, this is my name.
full-
Please refer to me as this.
He could go a full year and just live with a completely new name, a year and a half. And then we find out a year and a half later.
That is interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. I do want to pass this along, and we've had him on the show before. Jason Garcia, a part of the Crocketeers fan supporter group in San Antonio for soccer and for San Antonio FC. He would like us to announce that the Crocketeers are having a bus trip to Edinburgh to watch San Antonio FC versus Rio Grande Valley this Saturday. If you want to get on that bus and be a super fan with the Crocketeers and go watch San Antonio FC play down in the valley at Rio Grande Valley, go to the Crocketeers Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter page for more details. Now, that's always, you mentioned, you told the bus story, and it was a soccer story, Shannon, a chance for soccer fans to hop on a bus. I imagine there will probably be some adult beverages on that bus to and from, whether legally sanctioned or not. But
it's the only way I'll get on a bus these days.
Yeah.
I have no other reason to be on a bus.
Yeah, I have not been on a bus in a long time. Richard telling us Keith Wilkes went on to be Jamal Wilkes, who we saw in Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. That is correct. And a Chris Jackson became Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. I remember him, a little more obscure, but Jason Paniagua sharing that with us. That's see what you started, Shannon? Now everybody's coming out of the woodwork with names of athletes who changed their names.
We love it. Keep them coming.
Yeah. And in a weird way, a lot of people don't remember this. Tony Dorsett, when he was at Pittsburgh, was known as Tony Dorsett. And then all of a sudden he started calling himself Tony Dorsett. Joe Theismann was Joe Theismann, but he wanted to win the Heisman, so he changed the pronunciation from Joe Theismann to Joe Theismann, and he won the Heisman at Notre Dame. Smart move, Joe Theismann. I'm just saying. All right, coming up. Thank you, Juice. Juice never changed. Well, he went by Juice, but that's a nickname. O.J. Simpson. My dream is to have him on the show someday. But we will have James Allen on the show next. Don't go anywhere. From the Pro Football Hall of Fame, James Allen, also Andy Everett. Big 8 o'clock hour coming up next on the Chris Duel Show. There he is. James Allen, everybody. You know him, you love him. You can't get enough of him. You can't possibly contain him. All right, I'm going to get some ice baby for my iced tea. And let me give you a James Allen photo. Okay, where's my James Allen photo? Well, I do have this James Allen photo. Maybe I'll leave that one up for a few minutes here. I'll be right back. I'm grabbing some coffee.
What's your move? A rattling can? Or a simple spritz? Bugs near your kids and pets? Will it be ingredient you can't pronounce? Or essential oils? Bother the bugs, not your family. Zevo uses essential oils, which attack bugs' biological systems, so Zevo kills bugs, plus is safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo, people friendly. Bug deadly. Now at a store near you.
Woo! Woo! I got some ice. Ice, ice, baby. The great James Allen about to join us. Let's see, where was I? I was editing here. 1 sec. How long is that now? 101. I need a few more edits. One. Jeremy Kolok has left the building. Okay, so this is.
Get your life back. Take action now. Get a free consultation. Powerful, effective joint pain treatments with natural biologics are here. Call QC Kinetics now. 512-5. Call QC. Call QC Kinetics. Call 210-571-0318. That's 21 and get a totally free in-office consultation. Call 210-571-0318. That's 210-571-0318. Call 21.
Hey, this is Jake from State Farm. Since I'm all about being a good neighbor, I want to let you know that some other car insurance companies...
Totally free in-office consultation. Call QC Kinetics now. 51.
But don't worry. If your bill's gone up and your budget's busted, switch to State Farm for surprisingly great rates. Problem solved. For surprisingly great rates, like a good neighbor, State Farm.
593-4303. QC Kinetics. 593-43.
How can I do that? Let's see. Here we go. James Allen coming up. Let's see here. Let's do that. Let's do that. Michelle Johnson, welcome in. Wow, there you go, Joey. Caitlyn Jenner, formerly Bruce Jenner. Let's see here. I got another James Allen, which fits our screen better, I think. There it is. Here we go.
This is the Chris Duel Show. Now, Chris Duel.
It is a throwback Thursday. It is a thirsty Thursday. The weekend has begun because Shannon and Jeremy and I think James Allen will agree, we have just chosen, we begin our weekends, easy for me to say, our weekends on Thursday. And if you, have a problem with that, or if your employer has a problem with that, Shannon, Jeremy, or I will be willing to write a note that you can present to your employer and say, hey, I'm taking off early today. It's the weekend because Shannon and Chris and Jeremy said so. And we might even get a co-signature on that from James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He is on the board. He is on the selection committee. He's kind of a big deal. He's with us this morning. James Allen, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Good to hear from you guys.
Now, do you agree with us, first of all, that the weekend should begin on Thursday? And are you willing to just proclaim that from now on we begin weekends on a Thursday?
I'll sign your petition.
Very cool. That was easy. Well, Shannon, we might have to come up with some other petitions for James since he was such a pushover on that. James, yep. I want to start with Colin Kaepernick. We learned yesterday Colin Kaepernick had a tryout with the Las Vegas Raiders. A lot of people, and I don't think I've asked you this question before, James, but a lot of people believe, and I'm one of them, that Colin Kaepernick is blacklisted by owners in the NFL. And my belief is that he cost the owners money. When Colin Kaepernick started taking a knee, it was at a time when President Donald Trump was still on Twitter, and especially on Twitter, he went on Twitter and was criticizing not only Kaepernick and other people taking a knee, but criticizing the NFL for allowing it to happen. And subsequently, a lot of people stopped watching the NFL. A lot of people stopped going to games and buying tickets and buying merchandise and buying concessions. So my feeling is that owners said, you know what, you cost us money. You're not coming back. And that's why he's not shown up on another NFL roster. You run with a lot of NFL owners. Am I out of my mind? Any possibility that is going on behind the scenes?
Well, I can understand where you're coming from, and you know, I'm not an owner and just hanging around with them. I will say if you look at more of a global approach, and not to throw him under the bus because he's in the news right now, but Deshaun, the NFL owners have collectively said, if you can play and you're great, I don't care about the rest of your life. All I care is what you do between the lines. And I can sit here and pontificate a bunch of players, but look at Deshaun Watson, the contract he signed, and he's under major criminal indictments. I mean, obviously we have two grand juries that have not, filed, but he's under serious legal, civil and criminal things that are implied. So owners don't care. They just want to make him play. I've heard, and I mean, even for the more, if there's such, I don't mean the word politically, but for the more mentally liberal owners, the concern is locker room situations. And one of the things I heard from the Hall of Famer, who was known to always be very pro player and actually, had nothing wrong with what Colin was doing, his complaint and what kind of resonated behind the scenes is Colin never said really what he was doing and why. He didn't do interviews. He let everyone do the talking, and he said, listen, if you're going to take a stand, whether it was Muhammad Ali or what he took a stand for, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or I'm saying, if you're going to take a stand, get on the TV and tell us what your stand is. And where a lot of players were frustrated, and former players, is you never came out and this wave kind of came over and you didn't say anything and you stayed quiet. And there's some other stuff that I don't really want to get into about, his lack of training and everything else. So I don't really subscribe to that based on, I've heard all sides. The bottom line is if you can play, I mean, look at the Rams. They picked up Eric for the Super Bowl at 37 years old. He's been out of the league for 2 years, Weddle. And so it's, and with Deshaun, I'm repeating that. If you can play ball and you can perform in between the lines, the rest of that is superfluous. And even though I'm a big fan of culture, which is what the Spurs did, it's what the Warriors did, Stephen Kerr, it's what the Patriots did, and Steelers have done, most owners just say, hey, you can play, get on our team. We don't care about your off-the-field antics. So I'm not sure I really buy into that.
James, speaking about on the field with the NFL season, obviously we just got the schedule earlier this month, and with that, CBS has done a write-up as far as travel and miles that each team will end up traveling throughout the season. The Bucks, number one with 26,562 miles. The Steelers will travel the least with just 6,512 miles, in Dallas right in the middle there at number 13 with 16,670 miles. How much do you think travel ultimately plays into teams and their success, especially when looking at the disparity between the Bucks at number one and the Steelers at number 32?
By the way, I just got a text from a Hall of Famer who's listening on Facebook, and he said, that's a good point. To go back to your point, Chris, yes, he did cost people a lot of money, and yes, there's people that may be scared to do things. So I don't totally disagree with that. It matters a lot. Shannon, I remember when Bill Parcells was getting inducted, he talked about that. People don't realize most of the players are hurt. And hurt, is defined just even on the very minor, just severe, whether it's things, and to travel and where you put your legs, your arms, your rehab, it matters a lot. Notwithstanding, film room and you're tired, but the biggest thing, and, Bill Parcells talks about people being on a private plane and people are laying in the aisles, trying to get rehab. So travel matters a lot, and it does impact the team, and it does wear on you.
James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's a board member. He is a member of the selection committee as well, joining us, talking a little NFL. We'll dive into some college football also. But, James, you did bring up in passing a few moments ago Deshaun Watson, now the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. I saw I watched it yesterday. It dropped, I think, 2 nights ago on HBO. Bryant Gumbel's Real Sports. They did a segment on Deshaun Watson, and 2 of his accusers were interviewed on camera by Soledad O'Brien. And just very troubling. I mean, when you hear from accusers in graphic detail talking about what Deshaun Watson did, what they accuse him of doing during those massage sessions, it's just it's reprehensible. But they did balance it, as I told Shannon earlier in the show, James, right before they went to air. At first, Deshaun Watson's attorneys said, "We have no comment. You're not going to get an interview from Deshaun or any of us." Then at the 11th hour, they provided a female attorney to speak on behalf of Deshaun Watson. And one of the things that she mentioned was that, 3 of the accusers did have consensual sexual encounters with Deshaun Watson. And she also said that a number of them continued to correspond with him via Instagram and social media. And a few of them even asked him to go out on dates with them after, what is being accused. And, I just wonder, thinking of those 2 grand juries in Houston that chose not to indict with criminal charges against Deshaun Watson, I wonder if that kind of tainted these 22 accusers who were all represented by 1 attorney. I just wonder, we saw this with Ezekiel Elliott, James, he was not charged criminally, but the league determined he violated their conduct policy, and he got 6 games for doing something that was wrong, striking a girlfriend, allegedly. But, what Deshaun Watson is being accused of is far worse in my book. Any sense, what do you think happens here? I think the fans would revolt collectively if there was no suspension. I guess we're just wondering now, would it be 6 games? Would it be 8 games? Would it be an entire season? And I know we don't know, James, but just in your mind, what do you think will come down from the league on Deshaun Watson?
Information, I wouldn't say it, so I don't. So I can just speak from the sidelines. The league is going to probably, given Roger Goodell, this all goes back to the Ray Rice situation, and I happened to be in the room when Commissioner Goodell and David Baker, our former president CEO, was talking, and it's just us 3, and I just happened to be a fly on the wall. And the commissioner has to answer to significant advertisers who spend a ton of money. And, the comment he made was, I didn't realize that I had to get involved with the criminal side of some of those things. But he does know I not get involved with the civil side, which he didn't know he had to, but he knows he has to. So the commissioner has taken a stand since the Ray Rice issue on multiple things, as you pointed out. So he is going to do something to Deshaun if the pattern continues. He is going to suspend him from games. You and I talked about this a while back, what a chance they took. Not only have criminal charges, but you're paying him all this money, and he's going to sit down for almost quite half the season. So I expect, I know that New York has said they have finished their investigation. They haven't released it. And the Hall of Fame and us, we haven't even had a meeting recently. Well, not in the last 6 days on this committee that would know that. So I don't know, but I would assume that's where you go, is that there would be something coming down on their policy on behavior and good conduct. So I do expect that.
James, Ian Rappaport reported earlier this week that the NFL was looking into the Pro Bowl and Pro Bowl week and looking into making changes, given that even though it still brings in quite the television audience, it's just not the product that a lot of NFL fans get excited about. Are you getting to be a part of any of these conversations? And if so, what suggestion might you have to make NFL Pro Bowl week a little more exciting as people, realize the end of the regular season, the end of the playoffs, and get ready for the Super Bowl the week after?
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't really cogitated about that. And I'm not part of those talks because they're actually setting that on a subcommittee to look into that. And it really hasn't reached, it's kind of like a let us know and then get back to us. So we're not part of that conversation, nor have I been part of that. My opinion is just always the timing of it, because a lot of players, right before Super Bowl, I mean, do you do it after Super Bowl? But the guys have all headed out and packed their bags. It's just, when do you do it? And I can tell you, a lot of players, now they include their wives and kids and paying for everything, like going out there. The biggest accolade is they just want to be a Pro Bowler. A lot of players have said they just, the game is superfluous to them. They just go out there, they get a free trip to Hawaii and wherever they're going to have it. And back in the day, and they get all their wives and kids, and they're paying more money, and they like that. But it's just their bodies are so tired and everything else. So, but I know the players, they want the title of Pro Bowler for sure. But I don't know where you put it, Shannon. What do you think? I really have not thought about this ever. Because I've heard the players complain about, right before Super Bowl, it doesn't get a lot of attention, nobody watch, this and that, it's not as significant. Some people suggested after Super Bowl, but like everybody, it's not fair to the players. They already have a long season. Where do you think you should put it?
Shannon, can you answer that for James?
I don't know if it's putting it somewhere else. I think it's more of changing what the product actually is that people are viewing. Because I don't think you can put it in the middle of the season because of injuries and how the season is already laid out, right? There's not a free week for everyone. So unless the NFL extends the calendar year again by putting a week in the middle of the season, which would probably be around like Thanksgiving, just to give those guys off. But oh wait, some of you have to now participate in a Pro Bowl. There's no solution that's going to make everybody happy. I think ultimately they're looking to make the fans happy here.
Yeah, I was open. I mean, if you ever suggest it, I can always pass it on. No one knows what to do with it, but they don't want to get rid of it because the players want that title. Like I said, I'm repeating myself, but it's always been a question: is where do you put it? And how do you do something with it? And the players have commented that they've done more for their families and stuff to make it more fun for them on the backside, but on the product side, on the front side, Shannon, I have no idea how to package that.
And what amazes me about that, James, as we talk with James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the NFL is the giant. It's the king league, and the NFL does such a great job of owning the news cycle. They own the news cycle during obviously during the regular season and the playoffs, but they own the news cycle during the combine. They own the news cycle for sports leading up to the NFL draft, during the NFL draft, anything, when they roll out the schedule, that's now the NFL are absolute marketing masters of making themselves the story, even in the off season. So I'm absolutely fascinated, James, that there's this quandary when it comes to the Pro Bowl, and that the Pro Bowl is never quite right. And there's always kind of a disconnect among fans and players. And it would just seem to me, what I brought up to Shannon and Jeremy yesterday, James, was, I'm so old. I remember ABC's Wide World of Sports used to have the Superstars competition where, you'd have all kinds of events. You'd run a 100-yard dash. I would think, James, if you're not going to actually play the game, you could play a video game. You could play Madden. Some representatives could play Madden. You could have a race. You could have. I even we came up with a smack talking competition where players would go one-on-one in a single elimination with comedian judges and talk smack. I think there's a lot of ways they can go. And I know, and you played the game at a high level, James. Injuries are such a concern, especially for Pro Bowlers. It's their livelihood. They make millions of dollars in their profession. I think maybe you need to find another way to celebrate these guys, do it in a big way, and have multiple competitions that can really maybe capture the imagination and the excitement of the fans.
I love the Superstars idea.
Woo!
Dad never watched TV except watching the Cowboys. That's it. My dad just didn't even watch, but we always watched the Superstar competition.
Yeah.
I think that's a great I don't want to get into long pontification, but I mean, really, the All-Star Weekend for NBA, the thing that really made that was the slam dunk, and then all of a sudden the three-point competition. It's the peripheral stuff. The game is kind of a thing. I think that's a great idea. I'm not going to go too far. Maybe to eliminate the game, but do all this. I mean, these players love Madden, and that gets you to Gen X, Y, and Z on the marketing side. And then you could have the 100-yard dash and all the superstars competition, or maybe a tug of war. Remember,
I love the tug of war. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great, that is actually the best. I think that solves the problem with injury-free and makes it, like I said, most people don't care about the NBA game. They care also game. They care about the three-point and the slam dunk.
And of course, if it's sponsored by Anheuser-Busch, we could also have a drinking competition. We could either play quarters or we could have a drinking competition. I don't know if that one would fly with the league, but I'd certainly tune in.
You were on fire there until that one.
I know, that's
an explanation I've ever heard. No belonging.
All right. Thank you, James. Finally, it's been a week. I listened to most of the show last Friday when you and Shannon and Jeremy were on with Coach A, Paul Alexander. I thought you and Paul had like a fascinating conversation, especially when you knew Paul's statistics at Lockhart High School, including the final score of the championship game. I'm like, damn, this guy's crazy. But I want to ask you, it's been a week. You're an Aggie. The Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban war, you've had a week to digest it. The SEC is quashing any coaches from speaking to the media for now, including Lane Kiffin, as Shannon mentioned, had to cancel his appearance on the Dan Patrick Show last Friday. Are you solidly Team Jimbo? Are you Team Nick Saban, or where do you fall now that you've had a week to think about it?
Well, it's just the bigger issues where we've gone with college football. It's all about money, and you've given coaches and athletic departments different ways to, like I said, I'm not being disingenuous. UT, they were the first one to come up with the foundation for linemen, very legal. And Saban, as we know, is like a Bill Belichick. He's smart. He baited the only guy to beat him, assistant coach. He baited him, and he got him. And Saban was out trying to raise money because, as I said, wait till the UT joins. It's all about who has the most money in Alabama, as I gave the Reggie Bush, Cam Newton analogy. If you don't think the SEC has been doing all this and Saban and all those guys, like I said, when Auburn cheated, then nothing happened to him, and Saban didn't say a word. My question to Nick Saban will continue to be, why didn't you say anything when Cam Newton took money? You arrived at Auburn, and you say, and you're going after. Why are you going after Dion? Why didn't you go after UT? Why are you going after A&M? You did it because A&M beat you. And I don't mean that as an Aggie. Saban is very smart. He baited them. He's trying to put a shield for himself. So I'm not on either team, candidly. It's sad what's going on with football. And now it's going to be a conglomerate of who has the most money and can get away with the most without bending the rules, if you were. And I don't really think there is rules. So I think it's a bigger issue. It's kind of like this thing with Uvalde. People complain about Joe Biden politicizing. I don't think he did. Every president jumps in front. I thought what Beto had done was the worst thing I've ever seen. He did politicize it, but let's worry about the kids. And I'm worried about the kids in this football thing. About Coach Saban or Jimbo Fisher. It's two highly competitive people and trying to raise money and trying to get ahead with each other, and they're paid to do that, a lot of money.
All right. Well, James, as always, just great perspective, a unique perspective because of the circles that you're involved in, certainly via the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the league, and college football, and all you do regarding Texas A&M, the university, and the program. Great stuff, as always, James. Thanks so much for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
And I love Shannon's question about that, and I love your solutions. I really am going to whisper that in our ear when we get further down the way. That's great ideas. Good show, great ideas, great sharing. Thank you, everyone, and shout out to Mom and Dad, and I love you guys.
All right, we love James Allen. So do our listeners. Great guy. Thank you, James. Coming up, does Andy Everett still love Shannon Salty Sweeney? Because she's kind of embarrassed him quite a bit lately when it comes to golf predictions. and horse racing. But yeah, although he wasn't involved in the horse racing prediction. So we'll check in with Andy Everett. We got this bad news. Sincere McCormick, former UTSA phenom running back, injured in Raiders camp. He'll be out of the lineup. His dreams of an NFL career, at least on hold now. We'll get his reaction to that. We'll talk golf and all things sports with Andy Everett coming up. Don't go anywhere. She's Shannon, Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok makes the whole show go. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Little programming note there from Louisa for Longhorn baseball fans and TCU fans. Oh, that's loud. Okay, I need to, let's see here. Let's do this first. I got to mail some of these. Let's see. All right. Now, gotta send something real quick. There you go. James heard the Vicente Fernandez. James, great segment as always, sir. Love having you on. Great stuff. As always. Let's see. Do I have time? I got to see if I can edit one more. What's going on there? Open. This is... Ah. See if I can get a. You are too kind. You are too kind, James Allen. Where's my Andy Everett photo? There he is. Andy Everett going to join us here in a sec. Okay, see, I did that. File open. I need the third one. I'm editing some spots. Jeremy is calling Andy Everett. All right. So I did that. Got Andy Everett on the screen. Wow, I like that. Golf at the Pro Bowl Superstars competition. And as we know, James Allen, Josh Allen, no relation, I don't think. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes coming up in the match. So that could be a thing. Woo. Here we go.
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
That's right. It's ABBA. You got a problem with that? You'll have to fight Andy Everett because he likes ABBA. And so do I. So does my wife. She'll have to fight the three of us. Welcome in. Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok is your Soundscape Stylist. Andy Everett is the voice of UTSA athletics as we inch closer to football season. He is also the host of the golf show on Ticket 760 Saturday mornings at 8, which you can access wherever you are around the globe via the iHeartRadio app. Andy Everett, how are you on this Thursday morning?
Great. We're 100 days away from football season. 100 days today.
Whoa, an even 100. And I mean, even when it's like 107, you know that number. So that's kind of a big deal. Well, Andy, let's start there with football. And as Shannon described earlier in the show, Sincere McCormick injured while working to try to make that Las Vegas Raiders roster. Sad news. Do you know anything further on this story and your thoughts on it?
No. In fact, you're the first one to tell me this because I didn't see anything, and I just haven't been up very long today, so I haven't seen any Twitter news or anything like that. So I'm not sure what his injury is, but here's a guy that was a workhorse for UTSA for 3 seasons. Often carried the ball 30-plus times a game and hardly ever got hurt. And you have to drag him out of the game. And, you know, Coach Traylor would say, I need to give you a rest for a series. He'd say, oh, no, you don't. I'm ready to go back in and move on from there. So it was always just a dynamic player. So hopefully it's not too bad. I have not heard what the injury even is.
Yeah, the injury for Sincere is still a mystery, but I found out last night, not from the Raiders and their announcement that they had placed Sincere McCormick on the reserved and injured list, which actually happened on the 24th, so 2 days ago. But last night, his former head coach and coach of UTSA football, Jeff Traylor, shared that tweet and retweeted it by saying, never count Sincere McCormick out. He will be back stronger than ever. So hopefully Jeff Traylor is right and he's getting the support he needs to continue on, because Andy, I know he went undrafted, but a lot of people had him as a sleeper pick in fantasy football for this next year. So unfortunately, he's going to have to go off of their draft board there.
Well, yeah, especially if it's a season-ending injury, an ACL or something like that, because that's a 9 to 12-month recovery period. And I mean, it's devastating to him as well, because I'm sure he had aspirations and dreams of proving everybody. And I think Jeff is right. Don't ever count Sincere out. The guy has been told all his life he's too little, he's too slow, he's not big enough, and he just proves you wrong. And that's going to be the biggest hole to fill for UTSA, because the running backs they have coming back for the most part have been often injured. And to have a player that hardly ever gets hurt like Sincere McCormick, hopefully this is a short-term fix.
We've heard so much about the transfer portal, Andy, in college football, especially in this offseason. Is it something that UTSA is exploiting? Is there any, you mentioned the running backs where the current running backs, now that Sincere McCormick is gone, have had injury issues. Is that a place to look to maybe find a running back who might see an opportunity here at UTSA?
Well, I always think that the transfer portal helps both the big school and the little school. It hurts the little schools in the fact that I recruited this great player that nobody else wanted. Now all of a sudden he's a superstar and everybody wants him, and now I have to re-recruit him, and hopefully I can keep him here to win games and keep my job. On the other side, if you have a 5-star running back that goes to an SEC school, and all of a sudden there's 12 running backs ahead of him, well, maybe I should have gone somewhere else where I could play, and the transfer portal is open. The biggest issue I have with the transfer portal, and I understand the NCAA is doing everything they can to avoid going to court. They just don't want to fight lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. And that's the thing with transfer portal and NIL and antitrust laws and how can I stop people from doing this or doing that. But to me, the one deterrent of transfer was always the year that you had to sit out in order to be able to compete and play games. And I know there are a lot of players that went through UTSA, both on the football and basketball side, that thought for about 5 minutes about transferring, but the idea that they would miss games for an entire season was just something they couldn't fathom. They lived for game day. They lived for practice. They lived for playing and showing off what they practice to get better at. And so telling that player, hey, you're going to have to sit out for a year, that was just something they were going to refuse to do.
Well, Andy, we spoke to you last week, and at that point, we had only had one side of the story with Nick Saban giving his 2 cents on how he felt that Texas A&M was getting their recruits and saying that they were paying for their players. Since then, we've heard from Jimbo Fisher, his rebuttal, and the fallout that he and Nick Saban no longer friends. I believe us all here at the Chris Duel Show are on Team Fisher at this point. Have you picked a side here?
Well, here's the deal. I think, first of all, I don't think Nick Saban was taking a direct shot at Texas A&M. I think he was taking a shot at Alabama boosters and saying, listen, we've had it our way forever because we're Alabama. And now Texas A&M is going to go out and buy the players that we wanted to play. And if you don't continue to pony up and focus in on your NIL commitments, we're going to lose recruits to Texas A&M and to other schools that don't have – Texas A&M has pedigree, but it doesn't have national championship pedigree like Alabama does. Now, I always say this too. If you go back and look at the most passionate fan bases, and don't take away anything from Texas or OU or Alabama or anyone else, but the Texas A&M fan base is as good as it gets. It's as passionate as it gets. And they've always kind of felt, I think, that they were the little brother in the state, the Texas, and they did whatever they could for years to win. And if it meant breaking the rules, they did, because that's how passionate they were about their team. And if you go back and look at the 80s, SMU got the death penalty. Texas A&M came close. They were the next in line if they had any more infractions. So that passion now is okay because it's legal to do all the stuff you did 30 years ago. And now you're pretty good at it because you knew what you were doing when it wasn't legal. Now you know what you're doing when it is. And that, if that's the rules, then kudos to Texas A&M. Built $1 million facilities, put an NIL deal together for every athlete on campus, and all of a sudden you'll start winning national championships. So I don't know what the big deal is, because I think Texas A&M is doing it, but I don't think it's wrong. And I think Alabama and every other school in the world is going to have to join the arms race, so they're going to lose. And I think that was what Nick Saban was trying to get across. And of course, he just wanted to rile up Alabama fans by saying it in the tone that he said.
He is Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA athletics, and also host of the golf show on Ticket 760 in San Antonio, 8 o'clock on Saturday mornings. And Andy, we've called you, and I think rightfully so, our golf guru. But it seems every time we draft golfers, Shannon Salty Sweeney seems to come up with the winner, most recently picking Justin Thomas to win the PGA Championship. Should our golf guru now be Shannon Salty Sweeney? And B, will you be inviting her on as a guest prognosticator on the golf show on Saturday mornings?
You can prognosticate anytime she wants, but I would say that she just has a crystal ball. Future, and none of the rest of us can. So, but I don't think Justin Thomas was a bad pick, and that's the one thing about golf is you can take the top 20 guys and shake them up in a bowl and pull one name out, and chances are that guy will either finish first or last, or somewhere in the middle. And there are no, there are no UT Martins and Tennessee Chattanoogas and that upset teams in the first round of an NCAA tournament. Every one of those guys can play and play great, and whoever plays great on any given week is gonna win.
Well, from that championship with Justin Thomas, Chris and I learned something that typically when a golfer wins, the 18th flag from the tee hole, or excuse me, from the hole, goes to the caddy. And Justin Thomas's caddy is the former caddy of Phil Mickelson, who apparently never gave him, from all the wins Phil Mickelson had, he never got that 18th hole flag. Justin Thomas gave him that flag, and not only was it a flag from a win, but a major win. Tell us about the meaning behind that, and how much that probably meant to that caddy to finally get one of those.
Well, that's news to me too. I never knew that Bones never took the flag. That either Phil took them and gave them to his family. But Bones could go someplace else and get another flag and say it was from 18. Nobody would know the difference. I'm sure he has a bunch of flags in his house. But yeah, that's always kind of been the tradition that the caddy gets the flag. The caddy also gets 10% on a win. So Justin Thomas made 2.3 million, and Bones made $230,000 for the week. So he's not doing too badly either. And that's something that unless there's a possibility that he's on a retainer of some kind in the 7-figure range, but I'm guessing he got at least $230,000 for his work last week.
Andy Everett, I have called you our golf guru, but I must admit I have also called you a golf elitist because you refuse to watch the match coming up between Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Have you reversed your position? Are you considering maybe watching a few moments of the match, which is just a few days away now?
Well, let's see. It's Wednesday, June 1st. Is that right?
I think so.
If there's no baseball game on, if I happen to be flipping, I think a lot of people talk about cutting the cord. I never have because I like to flip around on the TV. I don't ever watch just one thing at a time. And all those streaming channels have to buffer before they come back on. So I'm guessing as I pass through, I may, take a look for a few minutes, but it's not going to be appointment TV. And if anybody has anything else for me to do that day, that'll be what I do.
Andy Everett.
I just don't agree.
Yeah. We'll fill you in. Shannon and I will be watching every hole, so we will fill you in. Andy, we're up against it. Any preview for the golf show coming up this Saturday on Ticket 760?
Well, we'll talk about obviously the PGA and coming up as well with what Tiger may do at the U.S. Open or British Open, and I'm back with filling in for Mike Taylor this week, so all kinds of sports stuff today, this afternoon, and tomorrow on the afternoon show.
Yeah, I see Mike Taylor on his social media lounging on a beach with a beautiful young lady. So it's nice of you to fill in for Mike Taylor so that he can do his thing on the beach. And so you're a good man, Andy Everett.
Absolutely. I'll keep hold down the fort.
I'm glad you reminded us. So everybody remember, tune in 4 to 7 this afternoon and tomorrow, all this week, Andy Everett hosting on the Mike Taylor Show. Andy, great stuff as always, man. Have a great show this afternoon.
Take care, guys. See you soon.
All right. Shannon, we got a little chink in the armor there, a little he says if he's channel surfing. I wonder if he's like Don Harris from News 4, who was poo-pooing Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. But in all reality, Don Harris was watching every episode of Winning Time. I wonder if Andy is really going to watch but never admit it.
I feel like that could be the case here, especially with the drama that's already, the video of Tom Brady eagling, and then Josh Allen calling it fake. It's eaten up before it even begins.
I might have to park in front of Andy's house with some binoculars from my car, look in his window, see what's on his TV. I don't know. It's a little extreme, but hey, I'm an extreme guy. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, outstanding. Let's do this again in 21 hours.
All right. I'll be here. Football Friday.
Heck not. Woo! Jeremy Kolok, an exceptional job as always, sir. Let's do it again.
Yes, sir. I will be here tomorrow.
Absolutely. James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Spectacular as always, as was Andy Everett, although he is a golf elitist. Don't forget that as you listen to the Mike Taylor Show this afternoon. Have yourself a great Throwback Thursday. We will see you in 21 hours. Adios, amigos. Thank you, Louisa. James Allen, Anthony Del Toro. Yeah, it was Nina Duran. I for some reason didn't think in the moment I should name her. But I saw some photo he posted, and they posted. It was actually a video, I think, of the two of them. So it's social media official. So I'm not saying anything that they didn't put out there. So there's that. All right. And good for them. Jason, Louisa, Anthony, James, Beth, Settle, anybody else who may still be here. We appreciate it. We will see you in 21 hours on a Football Friday. Until then, have a great day. Thank you, thank you, thank you.